Yeah, first of all, thank you, Professor Sadoun and Professor Leila Mandi, to accept to moderate this session. It's a great pleasure to have you moderate this special session. So
Thank you.
for yours.
Thank you, Sharaf. So it's for me a really great pleasure to introduce my friend and brother, Si Ilias Belharouak. We know each other, I think, for more than, I don't know how much, 20 years more. And then it's
More
all,
than that, more than
yeah,
that, 20,
yeah,
25 plus, I
like
guess.
this. So if I try to introduce to write everything that concerns Ilias, I think we will take the 30 minutes that you have. So I will go directly to some main point of your career. So Dr. Ilias is actually corporate fellow and head of electrification section at Oak Ridge National Lab, which is a really big lab. I have the opportunity to visit this lab. It's really amazing. He's also professor of at Tennessee, Knoxville, and also he's advisor of many several U.S. universities and government agencies. Dr. Belharouak, only 20 years expertise, I guess much more, but I think more than 25 years. You have expertise in lithium-ion battery. He's leading or leads already multidisciplinary R&D program, sponsored by multiple agencies, especially industry and U.S. government. Dr. Belharouak has received several awards, which is really amazing and impressive, including 7 R&D, 100 awards, and 4 U.S. Federal Laboratory Consortium awards, which is too much. And he has published over 2 peer-reviewed papers, 50 U.S. patent, and patent in USA is not like patent everywhere. It's very difficult to get a patent and patent application. And he also published 5 books. He's currently editor-in-chief of very high impact factor journal of Power Source, and this is a really like a great position. It's a challenging also position because you have to manage many things, but it's a really honor to have a Moroccan leading such journals. So, as I said before, I can continue reading the biography of Ilias, but I think time to do science, to give us your recent I think work around the activity, and you select really the right title, because now a lot of people are talking about LFP, and I think your talk will be a good opportunity to explain the things. So please, Ilias, give us your 25 to 30-minute presentation of your keynote entitled "Is the Moroccan LFP lithium-ion battery industry ready for takeoff?" Yo, please answer to this question.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Extremely delighted to be here today. And thank you, Ismail, for the nice introduction. I think you are one of the major endeavor person believing in batteries and leading the way in Morocco. So I feel humbled by the words that you allocated to me this afternoon. So delighted to be here, and thanks to everyone for joining this session, and thanks to the organizing committee for giving me the opportunity to really debate this question and share some of my insights. This is not going to be a very heavily technically a talk. It's more or less a catalyzing talk around this key question. And I understand that Morocco is becoming a platform internationally for this question of batteries, LFP namely, but there are major companies and players in Morocco, such as the OCP, such as University Mohammed VI, in Ben Greer, and where Ismail is actually having a lot of fun developing these chemistries and so on, along with others. But let's dive into the topics that I'd like to share. I'll give a brief introduction about my institution, then talk about some fundamentals of batteries, then dive into the main topic, which is the LFP. I'd like to have it structure around certain messages that I'd like to have the public, the audience probably think about and probably have some sort of follow-up on after this meeting. So this is Oak Ridge National Lab. We're one of the federally funded R&D centers in the United States. We are 17 national labs. We're located in Tennessee, just next to Knoxville. That's the city that hosts us for probably around almost now 80 years. We are a science lab, and if I would like to summarize what National Lab do for the United States nation is basically to help the nation come up with solution for energy, national security, and environmental problems. So it's all about coming from our R&D perspective and translating that R&D into real commercial product, if warranted. Our history starts back in 1943. This is a picture of graphite reactors. You can see the scientists inserting some reactant, radioactive material that they irradiated at that time to make plutonium, grams plutonium at that time. It was a big deal. It was the start of the Manhattan Project that led to major endeavors in nuclear energy and so on. Our mission has shifted throughout the years and to more civil applications. We do things, we still produce a lot of isotopes to kill cancer. As an example, we power NASA gadgets in the space. We do 3D print cars, boats. We do a lot of fun around R&D, but with impact to society. We think about questions that deals with how we can model molecule systems that may impact society. But in relevance to today's topic, we also build safer, long-lasting batteries. And in there, you may have or probably heard about the battery manufacturing facility in the United States at Oak Ridge National Lab, which is an R&D facility to help transition small innovation to a prototyping. In terms of numbers, we're about 7,000 employees, colleagues, mostly PhDs. We have probably heard of that, the most intense neutron source in the world, the fastest computers in the world, and you can see the numbers. We're a machine when it comes to production of papers, patents, and that's the core of our business, is actually by R&D trying to impact society in a variety of ways. Let's probably go and talk about some fundamentals, and I'd like to spend a little time probably giving you an insight about how this field developed since probably now more than 70 years. So the first innovation that we can trace back is actually or happened here at Oak Ridge National Lab back in the 90s, 1953, where a scientist was, his curiosity led him to melt lithium hydroxide in a crucible of nickel, and that led to the discovery of lithium nickel oxide, this compound here. The first principles of lithium intercalation of lithium ion in a host material was discovered by Stan Whittingham, one of the recipients of the Nobel Prize back in 2019. John Goodenough, one of the major or the pioneers of the field, synthesized the lithium cobalt oxide back in the early 80s and patented that material. And Yoshino Akira from Japan, from Sony, had the wisdom to combine the lithium cobalt oxide with hard carbon and came up with the first commercial lithium ion battery system in the world. So you can see more or less, the whole field actually started based on discovery of this lithium nickel oxide just by coincidence. Basically all the commercial impact that the technology has today on us actually started like that. So it's science-based and funded kind of endeavor. I'd like probably to mention the solid state batteries for those interested. It was discovered here at Oak Ridge National Lab back in the 90s with the discovery of LiPON by John Bates and Nancy Dodney. Ismail mentioned his probably career started around probably that time in the early 90s working on lithium ion batteries. So just making sure that he gets the right recognition when it comes to those who actually work in the field for so many years. And we understand this field is poised to further impact our societies by having more introduction in EVs, in grid storage. Some of the questions that we need to think about is actually how to recycle these systems at the end of their life. And that's a major question probably to think about as a community. Some on the fundamentals, lithium-ion batteries, as any battery, is composed of three components: cathode, anode, and an electrolyte. Lithium ion are transported from the cathode physically and will actually be accommodated into the graphite or anode physically. That's what happens during charge. And then during the discharge, the reverse phenomenon happens. Basically, you have lithium ion moving back from graphite to the cathode host, and that can happen reversibly many times, and that's why we can enjoy charging and discharging the technology so many times. But at some point the technology will fade, because like anything else, the technology will see many phenomena that happen, degradation both at the bulk interfaces and so on. Just know that this is mainly diffusion based phenomena. You have diffusion of the lithium ion in different hosts, and you can think about the limitation of ions moving through solids and so on. By the end of the day, what matters is really the capacity, the amount of electricity that can be carried out by a kilogram of material. And therefore, if you time that capacity by the voltage, that gives you the energy density. And if you time that by the density, it gives you the volumetric or gravimetric energy density. And those are the major quantities or parameters that actually govern the whole field. Power density is very important, and that qualifies how fast we can actually extract energy in very short time. In the field, again, it's dominated by these three major components: the cathode, the anode, the electrolyte. I put together here those mainstream anodes and electrolytes on the left side, but one of the major component is the cathode. material that goes into the construct of these cells and packs and batteries, and those can be categorized as three families. Layer family on the top there, so you can see the different compositions there. In the middle, you have the spinel family, and then in the bottom, you have the olivine or LFP family, and that's a phosphate. And in relevance to Morocco, we all understand that we are the major producer of the material in the world, and those opportunities can be linked to that, in fact. So what matters really is the capacity and voltage of these different structures. On the top, those structures are defined by how the lithium ion is really organized into this structure. So layer structure, you have lithium ions. In between transition metal slabs, in the middle structure spinel, you have lithium ion moving through 1D tunnel, and more or less the olivines, you have 3D pathways for lithium ion moving into that structure. And if you look at the sum of it is basically the energy density at the cell level, and that can range from 150 to 300 watt hour per kg, depending upon the nature of the cathode. That basically dictates the energy density along with the density of the material, the gravimetric density, meaning how many grams or how many milligrams of materials or you can pack per square centimeter, or how many grams you can pack per square per cubic centimeter. There are different technologies. The commercial technologies, the lithium ion on the left side, where LFP can be part of that puzzle of cathode materials. And that's commercial. Within the lithium ion, we still have a lot to do to enable silicon as part of the anode, and that's a way to increase energy density. We still have sodium ion. Sodium ion question comes as probably supply chain limitation in lithium. Those questions came many years back, and the idea about sodium ion is truly to tackle those limitations, and also to answer questions for grid storage where lithium ion probably is not that the right technology. But on the research side, this is where you have more publication, more people come in with ideas and so on. You have all chemistries based on lithium metal, and those can be categorized as lithium metal batteries, lithium sulfur, lithium air, solid state batteries. So the commonality there is truly lithium metal anode. And the reason why we use, or we trying or striving to use lithium metal anode is basically to really seek doubling the energy density of these cells in EVs, meaning we try to probably get a much better electrical drive on a single charge. So with those in mind, let's me just go to my messages about LFP. As I mentioned, this talk is not really very technical. I'd like to center my talk around the question. The base is Morocco poised to be one of the major players in that, and within that endeavor, there are key questions that we need to be keen to understand the main players, the major competitors. And you can see my main message here is that we are not alone. China dominates the market. Production is about 2.3 million tons in 2024. That's a huge number when it comes to LFP production. Here I put together the 10 major LFP producer supplier in China. You can see one single company in Hunan producing more than 600,000 kilotons, 600,000 tons per year. and that's huge by all measures. Probably the audience heard about Goshen Endeavor in Konetra, and Goshen is one of the major players with more than 100,000 tons a year. So in essence, when thinking about introduction to a market, it's great to also think about competitors and what is the value added when you get to that market. Are we going to be competitive? It's all about cost. If you make a material, great, but if you make it at a different cost structure, probably better come up with innovation to drive down those costs such that you could be competitive in those markets. So I think my key message here, let's not forget, and I'm sure it's in the mind of everyone, but I'd like to start with that message first. The second message, probably when it comes to that question, is truly about innovation and LFP. LFP has been around since 1997. John Goodenough was the man who discovered this material again. John Goodenough, along with Stan Whittingham and Akira Yoshino from Japan, were the three recipient of the Nobel Prize in 2019, and for good reason, because they were the major and people that actually drove the commercial product aspect of the technology. And in LFP, you can see more or less most of the companies use mainstream method. It's already known. Most of the patents are obsolete, so it's open for everyone use. But the mainstream method is mainly utilizing either iron or iron sulfate in sulfuric acid solutions. Phosphorus comes from phosphoric acid or ammonium hydrogen phosphate. These are fertilizers that OCP, for example, makes very for many years, and they master and dominate that part of the phosphorus resources. Lithium can be lithium hydroxide, lithium carbonate, and other, but also we need carbon because these materials are insulating in nature because they're phosphate, and we need carbon source to carbon coat them. And in essence, the process starts with some sort of carbothermal reduction of FePO4. If you choose to make FePO4 out of iron source, and the process to make FePO4 is described here in the middle, it's common knowledge. But the key question, right, you can make it, but guess what, probably you're not, or it takes a long time to really come up with the right material with less purity, with less impurities, and the right performance in terms of the capacities that you can get, in terms of the packing densities that you can get, in terms of the morphologies in general, in terms of the physical properties that you can get. Here at Oak Ridge National Lab, we developed a proprietary process based more or less on similar material, that raw materials. We use iron, phosphorus, and oxidizers, pH adjuster. This is mainly heavily chemistry dominated process. There is a lot of know-how by just sharing some pictures here. You can see the FAP chemistry, how it works. Then you need to precipitate these iron phosphate as 2H2O, because otherwise it's not gonna lead you to the right material and the right capacities that you can get. And more or less the process is proprietary, but happily we can share it happily with whoever is wanting to get on this endeavor. Of course, we utilize our cell line facilities here at Oak Ridge National Lab. I mentioned the battery manufacturing facility that help us prototype the cells and benchmark them against really competitors. This is some of the characterization. You can see the X-rays of the FePO₄ before and after thermal degradation, removal of the water from the material, the LiFePO₄ on the right top picture there. You can see it's pure, but one of the key measures is really the capacity of the material. You can see we can get about 150 milliamp hour per gram. You can see the DQDV, and the cycling stability is very good. So more or less, this is congruent with what others have found, but probably the key finding here is truly a better performance and better packing density compared to others. One of the probably key messages here is truly why not going with manganese instead of just sticking with iron? Iron is dominated. I mentioned that there are many companies in China doing that. So introduction to that market is going to be okay, but tough. But these manganese and iron-based olefin materials are still R&D. They have advantage in terms of the higher voltage. You can see these higher voltages because of the manganese redox reactions. There are some benefits in terms of energy density, especially for an EV type application. So, and you can see some of the data when you make this material in the right way, you can actually get probably about 20% improvement over LFP. And because it's an R&D, still an R&D material, I think there is probably a better justification to go with this version of the material. The fourth message is that LFP is less energy dense compared to other materials like NCA, NMC. In this chart here, I'm showing the energy densities of the different materials, especially the versus the layered oxide materials. And you can see for designing a 300-mile pack with those three chemistries, you need a lot more LFP. The weight of the battery basically is going to be much higher compared to NMC-based chemistries, which means in essence that basically if you compare things apple to apple, with LFP, you're going to power much less cars than if you do it with NMC. This is a reality. It's not a bad thing in it. There's no bad thing in it, but it just is the reality. If you're thinking about longer range and depending upon the car design, whether it's a sedan or heavy trucks, and those debates can be really very funny and sometimes very nebulous. Now, the other question that I'd like to probably keep in mind is truly about supply chain. So if you look at LFP supply chain, is very complex. The cathode itself, we understand in Morocco we have phosphorus, but to make the material, you need iron, and iron probably is not big deal because it's a cheap material. We have options to get iron even in Morocco to the right purity and so on, but we do not have lithium. And I really wonder about this question about lithium. As you will see in the next slide, actually the LFP market is dominated by the cost of lithium. It's not dominated by the cost of phosphorus at all. And you will see it in the next slide. So, but more than that is actually dominated the supply chain with the anode, current collectors. You need graphite, you need the electrolyte, you need all these other components that probably one has to be thinking about when you think about these gigafactories and so on. What is it that you're going to do to get those right geopolitically probably friendly partners that can help sustain your productivity and production throughout the years? The question of the cost, you can see here in this chart, you can see the cost distribution. It's mainly dominated by the lithium carbonate cost. It's more or less in the range of depending upon the process, probably 70 to could be even to 80 plus percent. So although you have iron and phosphorus in there, but just know that if the cost of lithium is not well structured in your business model, then there is probably a need to think about strategies to improve your thinking around this question. And the chart here in the middle, it just tells you, even with if you take the case EA here, the current scenario with the current cost, if you increase the cost of lithium by 100%, and you can see the case one here, that impacts significantly the cost of you can see case B and C. You can see how the cost of the material is going to be impacted if you increase the cost of lithium by 100%. However, if you increase the cost of phosphorus by 100%, the cost structure of LFP is, or the increase is marginal. So really, yes, we have great resources. We have phosphorus, that's absolutely great, but also we need to think about lithium, and that's probably one of the right questions. I'm sure the players in Morocco have the right thinking around these questions, but it's just a message to be reiterated for this audience. And therefore, what I suggest and what I probably would recommend, because LFP is a mainstream material, you have many players, many competitors in there, collaborations through with different models probably is one way to get into the market. You get some companies that have the know-how, get them in, and probably learn the experience. It takes many years to learn. And but if you know, I would probably get onto the manganese version and probably have the right patenting around it and have the right material. And because the material is not commercial yet, probably the value proposition would be probably better in there. So that's probably one of the key messages I'd like to leave this audience with, along with the battery value chain is so complex. Most of us were within what we call R&D. We as community don't think too much about manufacturing and commercial. So just think holistically about the batteries from mining all the way to recycling. I know I'm probably probably the timing is almost there, but I'd like to probably end it with thanking everyone here, thanking the colleagues from the Oak Ridge National Lab, thanking you all for attending, and I'll be very happy to chat directly or probably offline should you need follow up on these key questions. Thank you, Ismail.
Thank you very much, Ilias.